Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, after 2 days of taking a break from talking about all the crazy current events and trying to give you some tips on the things to stock up on, we're back on our regularly scheduled programming. No, it's not programming. At least I hope it's not. I hope it's, helping you open your eyes, inform you, educate you, and entertain you a little bit along the way. There's a lot of craziness going on. I mean, it's nonstop, right? And so today we're going to get into that, but we're going to look at all this cyber hacking and backdoor hacking into different softwares, but from a different perspective, something that you may not be aware of, at least not everyone. There's been some other YouTubers out there that's put out some great videos, which I will mention here after a while and put links and encourage you to go watch their videos because each one of them hit this from a different angle. And so this video is kind of taking it from a third angle. And I think if you watch all of them, you will be much better informed of what's going on with all of the hacking that you're finding out in the news. Look at what's going on with the election. I think that there's also a connection there, as well as many other things. So, before I get started on that, though, I want to take care of, if you bear with me, because I know many of you do not like when I don't get to the point right away, but I do have some housekeeping things to talk about. As you all know, YouTube and other major social media platforms are really cracking down on their censorship. They've been doing that with my channel, and they're doing that with just about every channel that, talks about anything whatsoever that they don't like. So it's making it more difficult to put information out on here. I have been testing other platforms that are similar to YouTube, and to be honest with you, there's nothing that is as good as YouTube. And so for now, I am using mostly BitChute and another channel called Brighton. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I will try to leave links to the channels that I've set up in the description below. I'm much more free to talk about what I want. And usually what I've been doing is mirroring those channels with this one. In other words, what I upload here, I upload there. But as I'm able to, I will start to produce content exclusively on those channels where, I can talk about what I want. The thing that's difficult for most of us YouTubers is those platforms are not monetized at all. So you don't have to watch all the, commercials, but on the back side of things, those of us that bring in a little bit of income, there's some of these guys that obviously do it full time and make very, good money. That's not me at all. But what I bring in does help pay for some of the, costs of producing this and maybe a little extra here and there. And so on those platforms, we have to come up with something different. So you would see more commercials, I guess, put on by me. And that's something that I really don't like doing. I'm not very good at selling. I don't like it. But we will see how it goes. Now, the problem that I'm having is where we live, I have very, very poor internet service. Currently, I'm using a cell phone to upload things. And for those of you that know anything about the internet, my upload speeds are less than 1 megabit per second, usually between 0.5 and 0.7. And I've had a lot of difficulty finding any type of internet service that has the speeds that I need to make it worthwhile and that doesn't have such a low monthly data cap that I can actually be uploading and do all the things that I need to do. I tried one service that they checked me out and said, yeah, we can service you, and they had good speed and they had no data cap, and I spent $350 on the equipment and it didn't work. And after that, they checked again and said, oh, well, we were wrong. Yeah, you're not in our service area. Sorry. So I'm trying another service soon. And if it works out, I may be able to produce more content on this channel, on the Patreon page, and on the BitChute and those alternative channels. And that's really been the thing that's holding me back, is it takes forever just to upload a video. And if I'm having to upload, 5 or 6 videos a day, or even 3 or 4 videos, it's just nonstop. And so anyways, that's where I'm at. Bear with me, pray for me if you will. We are trying to figure this out. It's, in this day and age where people in the city have internet so fast that, you can download a movie like that. Out here, we're still dealing with things that are barely above dial-up speeds. So we're trying to figure that out. Anyways, on to the stuff. That's right. So there are 2 channels, or 2 videos that have been produced in the last, I'd say, 2 days. And I'm going to leave links below, and some of you probably know who they are. One is a financial guy. He talks about, stock trading and stuff like that, but he's also talks about what's going on with the economy and just what's going on in general. And his YouTube channel is Johnny Bravo, and he did an excellent video talking about all of this hacking, the Solar Winds company that found out that they had that they were hacked, and so on and so forth. And then the other one is a guy that most of you are familiar with, and that's Christian over at Ice Age Farmer. And he did one on the cyber pandemic. This stuff that's going on when it comes to the internet and the hacking and all this kind of stuff is, a lot of us homesteaders and preppers that, yeah, we use the internet and stuff, but a lot of us are like, we're trying to get away from technology. Now, some of you, I know for a fact, some of you are like current or ex-IT or computer programmers, and you're really key on current technologies and stuff, and that's great. But most, in my experience anyways, most homesteaders and preparedness-minded people, they're a little leery of that. And so they may not be as up-to-date as they need to be on the capabilities out there when it comes to the internet and just to the technology that's out there. And I mentioned this over on, and I may have put it on the YouTube channel also, but I definitely mentioned it over on Patreon, that I believe that one of the reasons why this year we're seeing so hard of a push by the globalists, the elite, the cabal, the New World Order, Great Reset, all this stuff, I think is because, and this is just part of it, but I think a part of it is that the technology is finally getting to the point that they can really, really use it and fulfill their dreams of, controlling the population. This is stuff that they have talked about. You can go back the last 50, 60 years of all these, dreams of how that they can, in the future use technology to do this and to do that and do this and that. And we're finally starting to get there. I mean, yes, technology's been evolving for several years, really the last few decades, but we're really starting to hit that tipping point where, biotech, artificial intelligence, robotics, and on and on are really, quantum computing, blockchain, things are really starting to evolve to a point that these technologies can really begin to be used to manipulate and control us. I mean, they have been for a while. And I think that what we've seen, for instance, just with cell phone use, if you just look back over the past decade of how cell phones have evolved, how the use of them have evolved. 10 years ago, people predominantly used their cell phones to make phone calls and text. And now that's really just a very small percentage of what people use them for. They're really able to control people and to manipulate people if they allow it. And so I think that that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the technology start to hit a tipping point, and they're pushing it hard. I was watching a TED Talk. It's been a few weeks back, and they were talking about this. I believe it was maybe a couple of years old, and they were talking how the struggle with the different generations that will accept this. The folks of my parents' generation typically, and I know this is very generalizing, know very little about the high-tech stuff. They're just now getting to where they can use a cell phone, and they're just not going to accept any of it at all. Folks in my generation, um, it may be a little split down the middle or so. Some of us just don't want to have anything to do with it, would actually, love to live in a world without all this advanced technology. And then some are a little bit more accepting. And then there's probably a few that are just, waiting and with bated breath for the newest, greatest high-tech gadget to come out. But then there's the younger generation. The millennials and then the Gen Z, and especially the Gen Z. They have grown up in a world where that's all they've ever known is this tech. And between the video games, the internet, their cell phones, and the circles that their peers, it's like they're just waiting for it. And so when the day comes out where they can put a chip in your brain to interface you with the computer, or artificial intelligence is to the point that it's actually directly involved in our day-to-day lives, the odds are, and this is what this person at this TED Talk, that they believe that most of these younger kids, they're just going to accept it. They're gonna welcome it with open arms, because that's all they've ever known. And the idea of having more and more advanced technology in their lives, they love the thought of that. A lot of them do, not all, but a lot do. And I think that's where we are at. Now, I've said all that to point out something, and I'll throw an image of it probably up here somewhere. And this is it's something to think about. I'll try to leave a link also in the description. It's a university in Israel that basically, from what I understand, this is one of those kind of like the Event 201, where they're playing, in a sense, type of war game, but it's basically on technology of what ifs, what could happen with this technology. And what they have found is we are in danger, potentially, of actual physical, biological viruses being controlled, being developed by computer hackers. And I do believe that this goes along with the things that Ice Age Farmer's talking about in his video, Cyber Pandemic, and then also over at Johnny Bravo, the guy that's talking about the computer hacking. What they're saying is that a lot of these DNA strands now, they're actually being developed and created by a computer system. And try to think of it this way, because it's even a little bit over my head, but try to think of a 3D printer, right? You sit there in a 3D printer and you type in code into the computer, and then the computer, through the printer, prints it out and creates whatever the object. In the same way, a lot of the testing, DNA strands, genome, viruses that are being created, maybe even vaccines that are being created. And I know these are terms that I shouldn't be using on YouTube, so hopefully they'll forget about me for a moment. These are being created a lot of times by these computers, these machines. And so it's instead of what we would think where a scientist is sitting there with little, beakers and test tubes and things like that, and he's mixing these different chemicals and splicing things, and while that may still be happening, a lot of it is being done by a computer. He's sitting there and he's typing stuff in, and it's actually being created by this machine that's connected to the computer. And what they're saying is that there is a potential of someone hacking this system and changing the code, the DNA strand, to where the scientist, the lab technician, whoever might think that the machine is printing or creating such and such strand, when in fact it's actually creating something else because the computer system has been hacked. So we're now beyond the point of this computer hacking just affecting a digital system. It's now capable of affecting biological systems. For those of us over the years that have watched various sci-fi, TV shows and movies, you know, and try to think of something that most everyone has seen at some point, Star Trek, where the artificial intelligence and the computers are to such a point that they're very much integrated in everyday life, and are potentially capable of controlling, you know, everything, if let go. While the world around us doesn't look like those sci-fi movies, the technical world, the digital world, the internet world is in many ways similar to these sci-fi movies. When we look at just the recent things that's been in the news, for instance, the whole voting system. I'm trying to think of ways to say this without getting banned. Of the potential of foreign, excuse me, foreign things affecting it. And then all the more recent, in the last few days, the news of the software that's being hacked. And if you look at the companies that's been affected, and it's not just companies, if you look at the government, there are a lot of government agencies had this computer, this software in their system, and there's now a vulnerability, and they're still unsure of how deep this vulnerability is and how long it's existed. But if you look at like the State Department, the Department of Defense, the Justice Department, even the NSA had these systems, these computer programs in their systems, and they now believe that they have been vulnerable now for some time. The news is saying that they believe this is state actors involved. At some point, folks, we're going to have to face this. It's either going to be handled through matters of physical modern warfare, probably a combination of cyber warfare attacks and physical, actual human warfare, or we're just going to ignore it, call it fake news, and move on. And if that happens, I think we can all imagine what kind of world is going to start being developed if that happens. Among the many things that are happening right now, this push for super advanced technologies, this idea of transhumanism, this integration with biology, human biology and technology, is something that we should all be very aware of. I think so many of us in the woke, preparedness-minded folks, you know, we're thinking about you know, an EMP, we're thinking about nuclear war, we're thinking about, you know, the big volcanoes and earthquakes and even pandemics. But this is something that's huge. And while I haven't quite put together a good plan to prepare yourselves for it, much like everything, if we prepare for the worst, you know, it definitely allows us to become more prepared. So watch these other videos and remember the things that I said that was talked about with this university in Israel, of how the cyber attacks can also affect us from a biological sense, not just from a technological sense. We are living in a day and age that's quite scary, folks. And it seems to be a lot in the news media and a lot in just the mainstream of America. You know, the politicians and stuff. They want to downplay it. They want to ignore it. And when that is happening, that's when we should be the most scared. Before I wrap this video up, for those of you, this is my little sales pitch. Remember, I don't like these, but I'm going to do it anyways. If you are in the market for some really high quality, long-term freeze-dried food, I have worked out a pretty good deal with a company called My Patriot Supply. They produce some of the best on the market, and in my opinion, the best price per calorie for what you will pay per calorie. You're getting a really good deal. I will leave a link in the description below, and they're offering some really great products. Many of you have already purchased through them from this channel, and the feedback has all been positive. Everyone loves it. We use a lot of their products around here on the homestead already. And I'm not saying this is the only place to buy, and I'm not saying this is the only food preps you should get. You should be doing all sorts of other food preps also. But if you are in the market for long-term freeze-dried food, check out the link in the description below. All right, folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.